Welcome. The following video is a metaphysical Bantu mysteries video. It's only for those that attain higher knowledge after Bantu foundations. If you are ready to break free from traditional, religious, and even scientific dogma which come with severe mental limitations, then look no further but watch our presentations on Hamiti Hebrew Ethics YouTube channel, shared by yours truly, Hamaneja Topi, Prisija Rabbi LM Tumizulu, Hunkenim Jakanja of Marifado Family Network, helping you transform your spirituality and the life on earth for the best. Subscribe, comment, share, and you can also email us on join@marifado.com. Let's begin to end it. Amen. We want to look at how far have you fallen from the chasm. First, what is the chasm? The void, the abyss. In many of our Bantu languages, it is the Shimo, Umosha, Ogangan, Mukaha, Ogaha, Umsanza, Edzonzo Bilen, Kwalasha, Ofo, Akuko Nto, Vangwa, Utupu, and the Efu. The Greeks and the Romans came up with the word chaos, an ancient Greek god, Romanized and popularized in the whole world as part of their creation myths. Where did they get this? It's very clear that we know the source of their information. When we come to Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, believed by billions today, the same term is used to refer to the gap or the abyss created by the separation of heaven and earth, the formless and void that you read in Genesis in the beginning, Tohu and Vabohu. The book of Genesis is where you read this story. Where did the book of Genesis get this story? Was it inspired by God? Was Moses inspired to write it? If Moses was inspired to write it and he wrote it, as we are told in 1450 BCE, who developed the Hebrew alphabet? We know that the Hebrew alphabet was not yet there. It never existed during the times of Moses. The same thing with the Greek mythology. We know that around 700, that's where they tell us that they wrote the Theogony. Hesiod wrote his poems. But it is not straightforward. The Greeks had no alphabet, so they could not have written anything at that time. So where did the Greeks and the Bible get these myths? Here is the source of all the writing that debunks the lies of modern history. The only place that was literate and that developed the alphabet was ancient Africa in Hamiti. Here is the proof. You can go to Stasi Comics and you study the ABCD family tree of the alphabet, and it will illustrate to you that the Proto-Semitic was borrowed from ancient hieroglyphics. Out of the Proto-Semitic, you also get the Phoenician that was exported all over the world by melanin-dominant Phoenicians, who later translated it and formed the Aramaic alphabet, out of which the Hebrew came. That was well after the Greeks had already formed their own word alphabet, because from the Greeks, that's when we get the Latin, the Roman, and the one that we are using today. No Arab was there to develop this. Don't be cheated. Therefore, it is important that the only people that could read and write in ancient times, who wrote the oldest religious writings known as the pyramid texts, the Greeks and the Hebrews and anyone else could not read or write. Only melanin dominant human beings were literate. Therefore, the source for the metaphysical understanding of the chasm is in ancient Africa. That's where we come now to look into, to rediscover how far you have fallen from the chasm, and what is the importance of knowing that. First, who is the you? What has that got to do with the chasm? The idea of you is wrapped around the immortality of your soul. You have a ninefold soul, and it is this ninefold soul that has a lot to do with the chasm. And your physical body, the Hati, on two, is one that is of the earth, that is totemic, and that is ancestral, and that is meta. So at the end of the day, the spirit that has been popularized by people as synonymous to soul is only a ninth of the real soul. So the idea of an immortal soul, along with its other metaphysical implication, is founded only in ancient Africa. Today, we know from the writings of the Greek historian Herodotus that he told us that it long predates them, because because it came from ancient Hamite. Hamiticians were the first to teach that the soul of man is separable from the body and it is immortal. When you now follow Christianity, they then tell you that you don't have an immortal soul. It says it's the lie of the devil. And they say you are a spirit, soul, and body, which is a lie. You are only a soul and body. You are a soul in a body. And the body is temporal. Then they teach you that the soul that sins shall die. The soul cannot sin. It's impossible for the soul to sin. It is the flesh that sins. The soul, which is connected to the chasm, can only do one thing: forget about itself. So the question then is, where is the proof that you can carry that you have got a soul? It is because you dream. That is the only answer that we can give at the moment. Your dreams proves that you have got a soul. This idea of a soul, the African idea of the immortality of the soul, was centuries before Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, Christianity, or Islam came onto the scene. Nowhere in the ancient world was the afterlife more valuable and respected than in ancient Africa. So our ancestors revealed deeper truths. We have written about them in our book Free from God, in chapter 5, entitled A Heretical Interpretation, The Real Creator is Not God, Ancestral Vaults. We know that in ancient Kemetic religion, the concept of Zepi-Tepi referred to the first time or the beginning of creation. It was believed to be a time of chaos and primordial energy that eventually led to the formation of the universe as it is known. The waters of Nu, the concept of the chasm that divide the soul from infinity, the soul from philosophical and metaphysical understanding, that chasm, the waters of Nu. Obviously, because of that, I cannot tell you any spiritual truth that deep inside you don't know already. All I can do is to remind you of what you have forgotten. You are the soul. So in ancient Africa, these philosophical traditions were hinted and indicated by the way they built their designs, the architectural designs. The wisdom literature and the religious texts of ancient Africa gives us that evidence also. We shall look at these two and show that architectural designs and the wisdom literature proved the deeper truths about the soul and the chasm. Very, very critical and very, very important. So the chevron shape and the chevron spheres that you see, the chevron waves that you see, are the waters of Nu that existed as a potentiality before anything else was created. Our ancestors captured this in their buildings. You can see the chevron here in ancient Zimbabwe, which explains the potentiality that existed before the so-called Big Bang. That question that you ask scientists, what was there before the Big Bang? The scientists cannot answer. We have just answered it. It was the chasm. It was the potentiality of the chasm that was there. Very, very important, and that's the source of your soul. Interestingly, Nu was considered as having both positive and negative sides. Very, very correct. Important to also notice is that in West Africa, the chevron is there. They knew about the waters of Nu. Nu was the personification of the dark watery abyss that existed at the beginning of time, Zepi-Tepi, which contained the potential for all, including nothing. Very, very important to notice. So we give examples here of the buildings with the chevron. This is in Kenya, the waves connecting to the unknowable. And this is Naletale, another ruin in ancient Mazimbabwe, in Butwa, Torwa dynasty, 17th century. You can see the waters of Nu represented by the chevron. The palace of Rave, a Sudanese warlord who ruled an empire around the Elek Chad area, also carries the waters of Nu, the chevron, the waves. More, here again, the fortress which was built in Malagasy by Malagasy tribes also represent the waters of Nu, the waves. More, the history of Africa, the pre-colonial kingdom of Mali, same waters of Nu representing the chasm, the soul connection to the chasm, the connection to the unknown and unknowable, the chasm, the separation of the knowable and the unknowable, the separation of your soul from the chasm. Again, the concept of the chasm or divide between human knowledge and the unknowable as a philosophical and metaphysical reality with applicable transitive power that can help the soul remember its home has been explored in various cultures and was practiced by those who were serious about knowledge and the afterlife. Very, very important. Here we are going to give 10 textual sources that you can go and study to discover more about this. The pyramid text is the first because it is the oldest text, religious text in the whole world, inscribed on the walls of the pyramid in ancient Africa. The language and the symbolism used in this text teach the existence of the hidden knowledge of the chasm beyond the physical world. The Book of Coming Forth by Day, Partema Hore, also has a lot of information of how the soul can journey back to reach the interface with the chasm. Very, very important and critical for anybody who wants to live the afterlife. This one, the instruction of Tao Te, is very, very important because it is moral advice and proves that there are limits to human understanding. Remember, your brain is limited. You can't know the beyond. But your soul can yearn and know the beyond. Very, very critical. It emphasizes the divine wisdom of knowing this gap, the chasm we are talking about, Mukaha. The great hymn to attain emphasizes the transcendence of the divine and the inability of humans to fully comprehend its nature, suggesting a gap or a chasm, Mukaha, between human knowledge, human practical activities, and the unknowable divine. You can't know the Creator, impossible. You are limited. The tale of the eloquent peasant implies the existence of knowledge gap too. The book of Jgahuti contains profound secrets and wisdom beyond human reach, reinforcing the idea of the unbridgeable chasm which we are discussing today. A dispute between the man and his bar. This dispute between a man and his bar, or the soul, or the flesh and the soul. In this text, the flesh argues with the soul that the nature of life, of death, and divine order is confusing or is complex. This internal debate reflects the struggle of human understanding or the brain's understanding when faced with the profound metaphysical questions. We are dealing with that. The Lamentations of Isisu and Nephthys, these texts where these two mourn the death of Ausari and the loss of divine wisdom, suggest that the secrets of the divine order are hidden and unknowable to mortals, emphasizing the concept of the chasm, of the gap between human knowledge and actions and the unknowable. The Ipue Papyri, although more focused on social and political upheavals and other prophecies, indirectly reflects a sense of chaos and confusion, but can be understood as the result of the disconnect that we have as humans from understanding the divine, the chasm. The last one is the Nag Hammadi library. In this library, we come hand to hand, face to face with inorganic beings called the archons or archons. We shall define more of these later, who arose in the early stages of the formation of the solar system before the earth was formed, and most likely invaded the earth about 300,000 years ago, seeking the energy they can get from the soul when it is released from matter, or when it is used negatively in matter to generate their energy. If you are a victim of these archons, our ancestors thought that you will fail to persuade these archons to allow you to pass through the planet's crystalline sphere they have erected. This is where it is very, very important that you need a divine consciousness of your soul that must be purified by experience on the earth and retain its organic connection and naturalness, and understand the chasm and become awakened to the doctrine and teachings of the chasm, as shown here. Very important. If you ignore the issue of the chasm and think that you know God, you know the Creator, you have all the knowledge about God, the archons have trapped you. It's very, very clear. Our ancestors, yes, knew all about the chasm. That's why they build building structures like that. They also knew about all the Arachons, the Goritoto, Amazim, aliens, Chitauri, Akeko, Shata, Popaipa, Ububi. They knew all about that. And they knew that the soul goes in matter and needs to be awakened by being taught about the chasm, to embrace the chasm as a guarantee of its success and a glorious future when the body dies. The body is the house of divinity, yes, but man must know thyself. Soul must know that it is the soul, and when it does that, it will know the gods and will have the freedom to enter into infinity. How far have you fallen now from the chasm? It's only you who can analyze that and answer that question. Only you who can become an awakened soul. But when you are an awakened soul, it is because you are chosen to awaken, and someone has tapped your shoulders and chose you to awaken. Otherwise, you walk around the earth saying you know God, you have received God, you have been born again, you have the Spirit of God, and all these jargons and words, and say you know you are in the only true religion or true spirituality, but you are trapped by the Arachons. Yes, for more information, you can email us on join@marifado.com. Till we meet again, know how far you have fallen from the chasm. Yohamaneja Topi, Priest Rabbi Elem Tumizu Kurikanim Jakanja says, yes, you only can answer that question. All I can do is to remind you of what you already know. Amen.